When I purchased shares in Cable Bahamas was offering a service that I appreciated. And I thought, seeing that it was something new on the block, it was interested enough for me to be a part of it. They have a chance to be the number one, particularly in mobile field. You have already earned the right to be the next provider. You've earned that from Joe Public, from the Bahamian people.
Government files a winding up petition against Baha Mar. Melia employees outraged over the Supreme Court gratuity ruling. A Jamaican man sentenced to 26 months in prison after a major drug bust. Plus, PAHO officials tour the new critical care block. We've got those stories and more coming up tonight. I'm Dana Smith, and NB12 starts right now. Topping news tonight, in a move characterized by Baha Mar executives as unnecessary and reactionary, Prime Minister Perry Christie revealed last night that Attorney General Alison Maynard Gibson has filed a winding up petition in the Supreme Court against the company, seeking to bring it under the control of Bahamian courts. This latest twist in the Baha Mar saga comes after Baha Mar's attempt to negotiate a deal with its lender and contractor in China have so far failed. Baha Mar officials fired back today, calling the Prime Minister's statements just plain misleading. Vanik Toot reports.
One day after the Attorney General filed a winding-up petition to take control of the company, Baha Mar officials said in a statement today the move puts Baha Mar staff and assets at severe risk and significantly jeopardizes the future of the resort. The developer also accused government of distracting from ongoing discussions with its lender and contractor by making the announcement in the middle of the night. The Prime Minister's address on Baha Mar came after 2 days of talks in Beijing, China, involving Baha Mar and its Chinese partners fell through.
It goes without saying that the completion of the Baha Mar resort is a matter of the utmost national importance. Baha Mar must open.
Baha Mar attempted to negotiate a deal with its lender, China Exim Bank, and its major contractor, China State Construction Engineering Corporation, after it filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the United States on June 29th. Christie said while they are open to further discussions, government will seek to bring the Baha Mar project under the control and supervision of the Bahamas Supreme Court.
On the advice of our Bahamian, United Kingdom, and U.S. lawyers, the Attorney General has today filed a winding-up petition in the Bahamas Supreme Court against 14 Bahamian entities that filed for Chapter 11 protection in the United States at the end of June. These compulsory or involuntary winding-up proceedings are designed to work in very similar terms as Chapter 11. But with the stark difference that they will be controlled by a provisional liquidator under the supervision of the Bahamian courts, rather than being controlled by Mr. Melia.
If appointed by the court, Christie said the liquidators will be neutral and impartial professionals. He said their role will be to expedite a resolution in the Baha Mar debacle and to prepare a plan for its restructuring. Baha Mar officials characterized government's actions as unnecessary and reactionary and accused government of leaving ongoing negotiations to follow its own path rather than to continue to act as mediator. However, the Prime Minister suggested last night government has the support of Baha Mar's lender and contractor.
Exim Bank and China Construction have pledged their willingness to work with the Bahamas government in their common objective for the completion and opening of the project in the shortest possible time.
Baha Mar filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the U.S. District of Delaware. It also filed a lawsuit in the United Kingdom against China State. A U.S. judge granted the company creditor protection and access to debtor-in-possession funds, which Baha Mar said was the only way it could complete the resort. However, Christie said government cannot allow those U.S. orders to be approved.
Papers filed in the United States suggests that if Baha Mar's strategy in the United States was allowed to continue, there would not only be a substantial delay in the completion of the project, but there would also be great uncertainty.
For that reason, Christie said the Attorney General is challenging Baha Mar's application to the Supreme Court of the Bahamas to recognize and accept the jurisdiction of the Delaware Court in the Bahamas.
This is not just a matter of national sovereignty. There should be a Bahamian solution to this Bahamian issue, and the majority of the key parties in this matter recognize and support that position.
The Prime Minister said this move is not designed to punish Baha Mar nor to destroy it. Christie said he is absolutely convinced government is on the right path.
While it is true that there are still major obstacles to be overcome, I remain extremely optimistic about the end result. One that will not only ensure the employment of thousands of Bahamians, but the emergence as well of a resort destined for great success in the tourism industry of the Bahamas and of the region.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonik Toot.
Baha Mar officials have also accused the Christie administration of attempting to nationalize a private investor's assets. In a statement released in response to Prime Minister Christie's national address, the developer urged the Bahamas government not to seize private party assets and to allow the private parties to come to an agreement that would allow for the completion and opening of the multi-billion-dollar resort as soon as possible. Company executives say Baha Mar is evaluating its alternatives with respect to addressing the government's precipitous action. The developer also dismissed as misleading Prime Minister Christie's assertion that Baha Mar did not want to withdraw its Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing in the United States or its lawsuit against China State. According to the Baha Mar statement, Baha Mar has not refused to dismiss the Chapter 11. We have agreed to dismiss the case as soon as parties have a mutually beneficial binding agreement, an interest the government should share rather than taking actions that risk irreparably damaging the discussions. Well, former Attorney General Carl Bethel says government should avoid litigation by any means when it comes to Baha Mar before it sets the project back many years.
The problem is, and this is the basis of my concern and why I would have expressed matters publicly, is that I specialize in litigation. I know how long litigation can take. I know how complex legal matters, particularly matters involving different jurisdictions, different countries, can be. And the greatest concern I have as a Bahamian is that the Baha Mar project will be tied up and killed for years because of litigation. That is the peril to be avoided at all costs.
Government officials returned from China Thursday morning following talks with Baha Mar, its lender, the Export-Import Bank of China, and its contractor, China State Construction Engineering Corporation. And other news tonight, things got very heated last night at Workers' House as Melia employees tried to come to grips with the Supreme Court ruling affecting their gratuities. Kyle Joaquin was there and filed this report.
It was a tense evening at Workers' House as hotel union executives met with Melia employees. It was a meeting to explain what had just happened and decide a way forward. Our news team wasn't allowed inside until executives spoke to their members, but it was evident by those walking out that they weren't happy at all. All this after Supreme Court Justice Roy Jones found that under the collective bargaining agreement signed between the union and the Bahamas Hotel and Employers Association in 2003, gratuities were not contractually payable on all-inclusive packages without an agreement on the gratuity rate and distribution formula. Jones concluded that the resort was simply not obligated to pay gratuities for all-inclusive guests to the resort's line staff. After sharing the bad news with her members last night, Bahamas Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union President Nicole Martin said she and those workers were disappointed with the judgment and their next step is to appeal.
So our attorneys are doing what they have to do. Of course, they've been looking over the ruling and weighing out our legal options. But certainly the sentiments is that we appeal the ruling and we take it one step at a time.
For many employees who receive gratuities, their daily set pay may only amount to some $32 a day, and it's really the gratuity that makes up the bulk of their paycheck. However, with this ruling, employees were left wondering how things could change so fast. During the meeting, many employees ended up bursting outside in anger, some saying, "We need to strike," and others, "I'm not working for nothing." Martin said while she knows her members are extremely upset, the union will take action, but nothing outside of the law.
Whatever we do, we are going to do it legally. It is not going to be illegal, and there will be no blood on the hands of any of the employees or the union. But yes, something has to happen. And I think more and more we're hearing or we're seeing why every union in this country must come together. We must come together, if only for one day, and shut things down, because no one is listening.
But here's what made the employees even more upset. The resort has been holding the employees' gratuities in escrow since December, and now there is no telling when or if those employees would ever get their money, and if they do, what percentage rate. So, is the union going to attempt at negotiating a new rate?
They've operated both European plan and all-inclusive guests. There has never been a distinction in the way those guests were treated. And that is pretty much the argument of the union. That yes, if you want to introduce something new, this provision is saying that we should negotiate a new rate. But in a hotel where all-inclusive guests existed even prior to the inclusion of a provision in the industrial agreement, we expect that that particular practice continues until we change it.
In a statement, Melia Beach Nassau's acting general manager Pablo Cogolludo said the ruling means that within the next few days, the hotel will be able to pay backdated, all-inclusive gratuities to all eligible employees. Cogolludo added, "We are very acutely aware of the financial difficulties the situation has put many of you in. I want to assure you that we will make these calculations and the payment an absolute priority so that you do not have to experience any further delay in receiving your money." Also in that statement, the resort's general manager said he hopes the ruling would allow them to turn a new page and focus on the more important things like the resort's guests. Reporting from the Melia for NB12, I'm Kyle Joaquin.